who deserves more credit? He who studies God's Torah, or he who provides and facilitates and makes possible the study of God's Torah? Now, I would think if I looked in Sefer Yoshua, the book of Joshua, Yoshua calls out, Vayikra Yoshua Lizkenim l'Rashav. He calls out first to the elders, to the Torah scholars, and then afterwards, secondly, to those who are the heads of the people, those who are the political leaders, those who are the lay leaders, those who are making everything pragmatically possible for the study of God's Torah. However, when we look in our Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu actually switches the order. He calls out, first he specifies Roshechem Shivtechem, the heads of your tribes, and then only second, he says Ziknechem, your elders. Now, I would think that we would prioritize the elders of the people like Yoshua did over the heads of the people, the political leaders, the lay leaders of the people. So why is it that Moshe reversed the order over here? After all, doesn't it make more sense that he who is actually studying God's Torah is fulfilling the goal, and he who provides for the study of God's Torah, that's important, but isn't that just a means to an end? Why is Moshe seemingly giving them more credit here than the elders who study and teach God's Torah itself? So Rav Moshe Sternbach, in his Sefer Al HaTorah, says as follows, and this is important because also it's coming from Rav Moshe Sternbach, the head of the Eidah HaChareidis in Yerushalayim, one of the top Haredi rabbis in the world. He says as follows: it's true, maybe the Talmidei Chacham, the Torah scholars, should get prioritized in terms of the significance of what they're providing, but as far as the difficulty of what they do, it can't be compared to what many of the leaders of the Jewish people who aren't necessarily involved in Torah are going through. After all, we're told that when Moshe Rabbeinu was first appointing different leaders, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says to him, first you go over to them, kechem b'dvarim, take them in with words, tchila amor lahem divrei shevach ashrechem shenismenisem, yasher koach, congratulations, you got appointed to a leadership position among the Jewish people. But then what does God tell Moshe to say to them? V'chazar va'amor lahem, now go back and say to them, know that these Jewish people that you're going to be working under, they're not always the most appreciative of the kind of constituents that you would hope to have. I'm asking you, after all, it may be that you are fulfilling a noble cause, but when you try to serve your community, inevitably, it's not always going to be as recognized. You're not always going to get the credit that you deserve. The Torah scholars, those who are up on the stage, those who get to give the sermon on a regular weekly basis, those who get offered to give classes, we see them on the Zoom calls, we see them on the Bima, we see them on the stage. We know to give them credit because they are in the spotlight. We see them there. But there are many people that are behind the scenes that don't necessarily get the credit that they deserve. And because of that, because of not only the difficulties that they have to go through in order to help their Jewish brethren, in order to help their Jewish community, but the fact that they don't even get the credit that they deserve for all the work they put in, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu put Roshechem Shivtechem before Ziknechem. That's why the leaders, the lay leaders of the Jewish people, get credit before Ziknechem, before the elders and the Torah scholars. And I think this is really important for us as we enter into the high holiday season. Of course, people see Rabbi Cohen and myself in emails, we're doing some work, and of course, we are definitely doing a lot of work. There's no question about that. But there's many people who are not in the spotlight, who we don't necessarily see in the announcements on a weekly basis, who we don't get to see in shul on the stage on a weekly basis, who are putting in so much work behind the scenes on spreadsheets, on Drasser bulletins, who's going to be davening where, who's going to be blowing shofar there, all of the kind of work that's going in. They really deserve so much credit. And we have to look around our community trying to pay attention to who are those people that come before Minyan that roll the Sifrei Torah for us to make sure that they are ready in place. Who are the people that are organizing davening, organizing the events, organizing youth groups, everything that we have, thank God, going on in our community. We have to thank those people, and they are very significant, and they deserve just as much credit, if not more, than those of us who get the credit by standing up there on stage. Let us, as we go into the high holidays, not just express appreciation to those who we see doing the work, but let us remember to look behind the scenes and not only thank Ziknechem, but also Rashechem v'Shiftechem.